Right, I'm joined today by Warwick, Wave Warwick.
Hi.
And Andy.
Hi.
These two guys have been developing a new Napoleonic game called Soldiers of Napoleon, which, you two have just had a game of to show me and to go through the rules, how it all works. So let's tell the viewers a bit about the game. So you both helped develop it, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So Warwick, you've done a few games before in the Soldiers of series. And what's gone before?
I started with Soldiers of God, which was the Crusades game, and followed that up a few years later with Soldiers of Rome, which is early Imperial Rome, so Rome versus the barbarians, really.
Okay.
And this is the third Soldiers of game, but the first one of a new system, really.
Okay, so will people who've played the previous games recognise it at all?
They will recognise elements, I would say, and certain design ideas that have remained, but in many ways, no.
Okay.
The army lists work differently, the game plays differently, the basic mechanics are very different in many ways.
Okay, and what are those basic mechanics? Is it fair to say it's sort of card driven? The cards are very much an important part of it, aren't they?
So the cards are what drive the action of the game along. It's you play the cards, from those you get to do stuff with units, move, fire, charge. The cards also cover things like special events, or you use them to rally as well. So all of the action is driven by those cards. You still roll dice to resolve those actions, though.
Okay. So, Andy, what's some of the cards that we were using during the game? I'm just trying to remember some of the ones that were brought out.
Yeah, I think the first really notable one was the Commander Wounded card, which was played on my Dragoon Brigade. And basically, Wall plays it as the cards have three different functions, one of which is a special event. So the special event for this card was Commander Wounded. Wall plays it, requires a 6, he rolls a 6, and unfortunately my Dragoon Brigade commander has had an accident. He got in the way of an Austrian rifleman's bullet. And unfortunately
That's
was
a nasty
killed.
accident to have, isn't it? Yeah. So he was taken out quite early, wasn't he? Actually,
I think it was round 2, was it?
I think it was the first turn, wasn't
it?
Yeah. First turn of the game, yeah. So
that's kind of one of the, what would you call that? The special action on the card. Whereas ordinarily, it's orders, isn't it? You can. There's a number on the card, and you can.
So the cards have got three functions, mostly to do routine stuff, move, fire, change formation, all that. You issue orders, and they're issued to a brigade commander, and then he issues them on to his units, so battalions or regiments or gun batteries. And so the cards have got a random number on, so it's 2 to 6 orders that you can expend on a brigade. There's also, each card is also a special event, which do other things that the orders won't do, or maybe like a fierce cavalry charge, or a special rally, or an exceptional piece of bravery, or something like that. And then the third option is to use it to rally, which is the way that you recover from damage that been inflicted early on.
Okay. We should cover some of the basics. We've been playing a 6x4. Is that the ideal size of the table?
Yeah, I think the game hasn't got a set size for miniatures, so obviously we've been playing 28mm, but like with all Soldiers of games, you can play with whatever size. I think on a 6x4 we played 3 brigades today, so yeah, and it's quite a busy table, but not overly crowded. There's still some room for manoeuvre and stuff. I think if you went up to 4 brigades, you might squeeze it onto a 6x4, because that 4th brigade will be in reserve, so you'd have a bit of stagger to when the units were actually on the board. If you got up to a full 5 brigade game, then you'd probably want a slightly bigger board. But we played them on like 7x5, and it's worked just fine.
Yeah. And interestingly, you were saying that really what's being played in front of you is just part of a bigger battle, isn't it?
Yeah, so one of the ideas from the very beginning of the game was that rather than it being your division or your reinforced division in a battle, it was your part of a larger engagement. So therefore that you would assume that there is stuff going on to the left, to the right, and there are reserve units moving up behind you, and you are playing effectively an area of a larger battlefield for a relatively short amount of time, maybe an hour or two of battle on that area. So you're not trying to play like the Battle of Borodino or something on a 6x4 board. What you're representing is like maybe an hour or two of an attack on a village somewhere, or trying to take a hill or something like that. So you're effectively operating. You are a divisional commander, but the board represents a sort of divisional area in which other elements of the army would also maybe be committed. So the reserves of cavalry might move up to help you there. Stuff that wouldn't be in your division necessarily.
Okay. And does what's going on elsewhere affect the victory conditions of the game?
Yeah, so not massively, I mean, but it can help you. Like today when I've been playing, my Austrians have actually been rolling a roll at the end of each turn, which is called How Goes the Day. I've been rolling quite well for that, and that means that the Austrians are doing all right in other areas of the battlefield, and that's given me a little bonus. You can't win the game by doing that, but it just helps you out. So all in all, you might think that, on the left or the right, the Austrians are obviously advancing and feel that they're winning today. Oftentimes, though, if you're reasonably matched, then that's not going to make a dramatic difference in the game. You've still got to win the game with the toy soldiers you've got.
And Andy, how do you win the game?
Basically by getting more victory points. So you
Okay,
accumulate.
so victory points are what you're trying to accumulate.
Yeah,
throughout the
you
game.
accumulate victory points by meeting objectives. So there's objective cards. For instance, seize the hill, seize the high ground in this one, or take a strong point. By destroying enemy units, or there's some other special conditions on cards. And then basically each unit brings a number of victory points at the start of the game, and then you just need to surpass your enemy's victory point total.
It struck me that it's almost like bringing a scenario into the game that you don't know that you're part of at the start.
Yes, yeah, that was very deliberately. So the use of those battlefield objectives cards, like the Take the High Ground or Secure a Strong Point or Grand Assault, are something you can plan for to start with. You can think, right, okay, I'm going to try and do this with this unit, or I'm going to use my light cavalry to try and get up on top of that hill. Or you can play it as a sort of reaction, thinking there's an opportunity here. Like I could today make a rush to go and seize the farm and claim the Take a Strong Point. It won't always work. There's no bankers that it's going to absolutely work for you, but it is a way of gaining extra victory points.
Yeah.
And it might be that, say, like with the Walls farm today, that becomes the focus of the battle and it becomes a major objective. They're trying to stop you, you're trying to take it. Or it might be that they just let you have it and you sort of walk in and take it. And so you can't know before the battle exactly how that's going to go.
Okay.
I mean, today, obviously, the Austrians took it and managed to hold it against a fairly weak French attack against it. But Andy could have spent a lot more orders and sent a lot more troops to attack it. And maybe that would have come the actual crux of the battle.
Okay, tell me a bit about the green dice that people will be seeing in the pictures. The disruption counters, yeah. Or
Go on, Andy. Yeah, sure. Disruption is a way of representing damage and loss of morale and loss of unit cohesion. So you can get disruption from things like failing to do a charge, being intimidated by enemy heavy cavalry, taking shooting casualties, or taking casualties in melee. Once a number of disruptions is built up so that you've got more disruption points than you've got stands, then in the end phase it's still at a condition your unit will be destroyed, but obviously you have the option to try and rally to remove some of those disruption points at some point during your turn.
Okay, so that's the rallying part of the phase takes away the disruption. Yeah. And I noticed also while you were rallying, you were taking stands off the board as well. That seemed a bit different. What's the idea?
Yeah, so this didn't happen in the previous Soldiers of rules. Either a unit was operating fully or it was gone and routed. But for this, and a bit of nuance, part of the rallying is you have the option to remove stands to reduce disruption. So as taking casualties, so that maybe a 5-stand unit becomes a 4-stand unit and then a 3-stand unit. It's an option as part of rallying. You don't have to do it, but sometimes you've just taken so much disruption, you're just forced to do it, basically. And that's the way that units reduced in size, so they become less effective, and obviously their morale is dropping as well. But it means there are casualties throughout the battlefield. Models are coming off the board. and units can be like, today I had one battalion reduced from a 6-stand full strength infantry battalion to a 2-stand unit by the end, but they were still there and fighting, so I hadn't lost them, and Andy therefore hadn't gained the victory points for them. So it's worth losing some stands to keep the unit.
Okay, right. Going back to the very beginning, what were you keen to get in even before you started? When you looked around at other Napoleonic rules and you were thinking of writing the ones yourself, what did you definitely want to get in there?
Oh, well, I had some pretty strong ideas about the way that I wanted skirmishing to work, that skirmishing fire was going to be a strong element of the game. And actually that does follow through from other Soldiers of games, because light infantry and skirmish operations are quite a strong feature of those games. They're quite an effective weapon, which I think is not generally true in a lot of Ancient Battles games. Whereas, and in this, the skirmish fire, I really wanted it to be something like a strong element, basically, that you can't ignore, that the enemy can out-skirmish you and cause you serious difficulties by doing that. So that was something that, and it took a bit of time to fine-tune the way that skirmishes work, but really happy with that now for infantry. Other elements that I definitely wanted in the game, I wanted brigades to be the main building blocks of the armies, so that obviously brigades can vary in size. They're quite flexible in size, you know, from sort of generally from 2 to sort of 6 battalions, talking about infantry brigades, and that each of them would effectively be its own unit, and that the commander of that unit would then operate his brigade in the same way that in other Soldiers of rules they've had 3 battles, so you've had a left, a centre and a right which you command. It's not quite the same in the Napoleonics because it's a bit more nuanced than that, but effectively you have a brigade and it might be on the left, or it might be in the centre, or it might be on the right, it might be out front screening, as we both had screening brigades today. And that then the game would scale up from there, so you can play a game with 2 brigades, 3 brigades, 4 brigades, and I think 5 brigades is about as big as the rules would take you up to. But obviously those brigades can vary in size as well, so you could play like 2 small brigades up to 5 big brigades effectively.
Okay, right, cool. And now the rules are done and they're out, Andy, what do you enjoy about playing them particularly, and what do you hope other people are going to sort of pick up on when they play the games and enjoy?
I think it's a different sort of take on the Napoleonic set of rules. I think Wal's done a great job of introducing the different characteristics. So sort of like there's a use for light cavalry. They're not just a poor man's substitute for heavy cavalry. They can intimidate, they can drive in skirmishes. Heavy cavalry can intimidate as well as just charge. There's the different sorts of infantry, so right from fairly low grade infantry to higher quality Imperial Guard, etc. And then there's the artillery. I think just the way that the different units interact with each other, and the cards, I'm a big fan of card driven games. I think, you know, they introduce that fog of war really neatly without having to pad a set of rules out to make it very complicated. And it's I think it's a cracking system. I think Wal's done a cracking job on it.
And available now from Gripping Bees, should give them a shout, because it kind of ties in with their new range of figures as well, for front rank figures.
Yes, they've bought front rank and have got Napoleonic ranges to sell. You know, we both use them in our army, so so it was a good tie-in really.
Yeah, great set of figures, aren't they?
Yeah,
no end of them as well, thousands of them.
Yeah, they're fantastic ranges.
Yeah, great. Right, well, wish you every success with it. It's a great set of rules, and we've enjoyed having you over here. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Dan.
Cheers. Thank you.
This video has been brought to you by WI Prime, Wargames Illustrated magazine's online members club. View more videos or find out more about WI Prime by following these links.